live on YouTube. There you can forward, you can catch any segment, any program that was on UBC TV. So carry us wherever you go. Let mobility not be the issue where you should miss any interesting segment of this show. Once again, I'm Robert Chirabonyonyitono. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra, an extension of Good Morning Uganda. Now today, we are going to be discussing something that I know many Ugandans actually don't even want to hear. Many Ugandans, just at the mention of what I'm going to say, because of what we went through and we are still suffering from the impact of the disease in post-COVID. We are going to be discussing vaccination, but in relation to COVID-19. I don't know how many of you are vaccinated, you that are watching us right now. I don't know if you took all your jabs. I don't know if you took any, or you even went for the booster doses. Remember now, from Health Center 3-4, you can get these vaccines. But joining me on set to discuss this is the spokesperson of the Ministry of Health, Emmanuel Aineviona. Emma,
yes,
you're most welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, viewers.
How have you been? We last met at the helm of COVID-19, where it was all about masks, this, that, you know.
Yes, I've been well, and I'm glad we are a bit relaxed. Much as I would like to say COVID is still here, we still see some cases, averagely about 30 cases per day, and that is about 500,000 tests done. So we still have people testing positive and some also being admitted. But it's not as it were when I used to come here often. Yes.
Well, you've painted for us a picture of what the situation is, that we are not safe.
Yes.
Though we can't still say that we are in the red tape. Now, let's look at vaccination at such a time. You know, when we had the second wave and we lost a number of Ugandans, we saw how Ugandans quickly responded to vaccination. At one time, vaccines were something we would dream of having. Then, at one time, we had them. Away from, even if you have money, you can't purchase them. But now that we've seen a reduction in infection, death rate due to COVID-19 is almost zero. Admissions are very low, if any. So, how is the vaccination exercise moving on?
Yes, the vaccination is moving on, and that's why I'm here to ensure that I encourage everyone to ensure that they protect themselves through vaccination. I would like to say we sort of had a semblance of what was going to be a fourth wave, but we still think it is vaccination that has helped us to have the number come down, and remember it was the emphasis of reopening the economy. So to some extent, much as we have not done any scientific study, we believe that vaccination has helped us to reduce the positivity rate to its current rate. And that's why it is necessary that if you have not been vaccinated, you need to be vaccinated. If you've taken a first shot and you have not taken your second dose, you need to take. If you have spent 6 months from your second dose, you need to take a booster dose to ensure that your immune system is updated. That's now why we no longer say you're fully vaccinated, but we ask, are you up to date with your vaccination status? Because the World Health Organization has indicated that these vaccines, COVID vaccines, tend to wear out after some period of time, which implies that someone needs to, after a period of time which is 6 months, to renew by taking a booster shot. But so far, I think it's one booster shot that has been recommended after your second dose, and we shall continue following WHO guidance on the subsequent requirements of COVID vaccination.
So let's also move away from just a word and break down. You know, issues of COVID-19 vaccination have been around since 2020 there. But we still have many Ugandans that have a number of questions.
Yes.
And let's look into some of these questions, the commonly asked questions about vaccination. One, what is vaccination? Person will ask you, you're telling me to go for vaccination. Yes, I know it's just injecting me, but why and what does it help a human being against COVID-19 if they get vaccinated? Let's begin by understanding the benefits of someone being vaccinated.
In the context of COVID, vaccination helps us to reduce mortality, that is death. It helps us to reduce hospitalization. Those are the key core benefits of vaccination. And this vaccination is now, when a vaccine is introduced to the body, it triggers the body system to build a fighting mechanism. And this is the fighting mechanism that in case you are exposed, you are likely not to be, the disease will not treat you like someone who has not been vaccinated. And that's why it helps us to reduce the severity of the disease. You will not require hospitalization or ICU, reducing death. And that's why really we are calling upon everyone to be vaccinated. And that's how we'll be able to ensure that there is no any other disruption occasioned by the COVID virus. Because we went through restricted movement, we went through lockdown. There is a time when it would be hard to find any car moving past Nile Avenue unless you are an essential worker. So we don't want to go back to that kind of situation. And the opportunity we have is vaccination, and also those ones who can still observe the standard operating procedures to always be conscious and vigilant about their lives.
So rightly clear is vaccination does not mean that you not contract COVID-19.
Exactly.
Our viewer, you still contract COVID-19. But because your body has a fighting mechanism, the disease will not be very, very effective on you. That is why you may have mild symptoms and maybe signs of COVID-19. But hospitalization, the worst being death, is something that vaccination will help you not get to that level. Now, Emma, the other has always been, how safe are these vaccines? You know, many people today don't fear the pain of that injection. What they fear is many still want to know how safe. Some have had a lot of negativity, beliefs, myth about this vaccine. Let's look at that.
Yes, I want to concur with you that there are a number of myths and misconceptions, and somehow they are the ones that have drilled us as far as the vaccination coverage and uptake are concerned. But it is our role and duty to demystify these misconceptions. I want to begin by stating that all the COVID-19 vaccines that are within Uganda and have been administered in Uganda by the Ministry of Health are safe and effective. We have not had any, for instance, someone dying because of the vaccine. All the deaths have been investigated, and most of those are found to be coincidental, where you find someone has died of a pre-existing underlying condition. So we have not had any mortality associated with the vaccine. And I want to state that the known side effects for these vaccines, not that they don't have side effects, these vaccines, like any other medicine, have side effects, but these are normally short-lived. For instance, if you get vaccinated, some tend to get a swelling or a pain at the site of injection, which clears after a short period of time. Some might develop flu-like symptoms. Some might get a fever. But these, based on the cases that the events following immunization that have been investigated by the National Drug Authority, they stay for a short time. So the benefits of getting vaccinated outweigh the dangers of not being vaccinated, which we said is death and hospitalization. Yes.
Well explained. One would ask at such a time, why would it be important for a person to get vaccinated at such a time?
It is important because, as we said, and you remember when you could ask me a question, when shall we start learning to live with COVID? And now we are in that stage or phase of learning how to live with COVID.
Yes.
And one of the weapons we have to live with this COVID, like any other pre-existing disease, is vaccination. Because you have seen there is vaccination for yellow fever, vaccination for influenza. So it is the only way that we shall keep COVID at bay. When you get vaccinated, that means you suffer less chances of being disturbed by the virus. Yes.
Now also we want to look at availability of these vaccines.
Yes.
In his last address, His Excellency, second last, His Excellency was more like, the vaccines are now readily available. How readily are they available, Emma? Because
no,
I know many people will tell you, I'm looking for where to get vaccinated.
The vaccines are available, and we have so far conducted 3 mass accelerated vaccination campaigns. We are just now in the process of, we've been reviewing how the 3rd round of mass accelerated mass vaccination shaped up. We are now learning from lessons what are the things that affected good coverage. So vaccines, I can say, unlike early 2021, when we are struggling to get vaccine doses, when we are receiving vaccines from the COVAX facility, when we are receiving vaccines under the bilateral arrangement from friendly countries, that is no longer the case. You remember even when people were looking for Johnson & Johnson, and there is a time when we had Johnson & Johnson in plenty. So I want to assure Ugandans that we have all the required vaccines, the vaccine required, and also we have also encouraged mixing and matching. If you find, for instance, a vaccine like AstraZeneca, which you took for your first dose, is not available, then you can take Pfizer. So we have also, our health workers have been oriented and trained on advising people on which alternative vaccines that can be mixed and matched. So there is no longer an issue of vaccine inavailability like we used to have in the past. So I encourage everyone who has not been vaccinated to reach the nearest health facility. And we have also brought the private sector on board. You know, previously vaccination was exclusively for public facilities. But as we talk now, we have a number of private sector who are also offering this vaccine. What was launched by the Prime Minister somewhere in Ntinda, the Vaccine Access Initiative. The private sector has created a point around Ntinda where people can walk in less than 5 minutes, you've gotten your vaccine. So I can say that we have been innovative. You remember even at one time we partnered with the beverage companies to ensure that we find even people at the hangout points. So vaccines are available. You need to reach out to the nearest health facility. If you are within Kampala, KCCA facilities have these vaccines. Endeavor to ensure that you are up to date with your vaccination status.
I would credit KCCA, but you see always these two things, there is a mismatch between what government has in stock and what gets to the people. Emma, you can authoritatively say we have vaccines
Yes,
There are
because
many in the country.
we look at
But let's
the,
look at
the supply
accessibility
chain.
to get these vaccines. That when you talk about KCCA, yes, the vaccines are there at least. But when we go to a number of health centers, one, you don't find these vaccines there. You don't find able people to carry out this vaccination. Contrary to the other times when you were at the peak of COVID-19, you would know, people would announce. But today, if you look at the 5 divisions of Kampala, just the 5 divisions, when you go to Machindi, you want to get COVID-19 vaccine, you won't. When you go to Rubaga, it's only when you say where you want to be sure that you find these vaccines there. That is KCCA.
The vaccines, I can say,
so
because
about stocks, you could be very right.
On a daily basis, on a weekly basis, we do vaccination, even for children, routine vaccination. And now most most districts, most health facilities have adopted COVID vaccination within their routine vaccination. And these health workers have amassed skills over this period of time to properly give you advice on what vaccine is available and on which vaccine you can take. So I can say we are at a much better place where health workers know the kind of vaccines, how they can be mixed and matched, and also on how to administer these vaccines. So I can really comfortably say we are at a much better place than we used to be in the early days of the response. Yes.
Okay, we want to believe so. And of course, I know our viewers can testify to that if really these vaccines are readily available, or we are just boasting of stocks that we have, but actually when actual access remains a challenge. Now, let's look at some of the challenges, one of them being manpower. How have you addressed this? Because when we look at the strategic plan against COVID-19, it involved a lot of people, village health teams, committees, village committees. Happen to be one of the village leaders. And there's so much that we thought was going to be put in place and stay for a time. Because what happens, why countries have these lapses, is because the systems that once strengthened them, at some time they loosened them. And then people start by slowly but steadily acquiring the disease, lacking proper systems. How is the issue of manpower and resources?
Of course, there will never be a time where there are enough resources. Resources are always scarce. But we have been able to leverage within the available resources, working with our development partners to ensure that there is available manpower. And that's why we have been supplementing the vaccination at the health facility-based vaccination with campaigns where we announce that between this period we shall be doing a vaccination between this date and this across the country, and that is a campaign mode. And I can say we have also had some challenges, of course. Transportation in the advent that there has been disruptions and distortion in the fuel costs. The transportation of these health workers, also from the vaccine store to, for instance, a sub-county in those hard-to-reach areas. The issue of transportation has been a challenge. But those notwithstanding, at least the vaccines are available at the facilities. So in the campaign, and I told you the whole of last week, we had a feedback meeting to evaluate why we are not having, because we still have a number of unvaccinated people. We have administered over 24 million doses. And our target is to ensure that we cover almost the entire population, all those that are eligible, the total population. And that's why we also had a plan to vaccinate children earlier within schools, which was changed, that vaccination of children between 12 and 17 should happen during the holidays. And the holidays have started. Our teams are now doing final reallocations, plannings to ensure that we come and communicate when this exercise will be taking place during this period of the holiday. And the most important is that consent, the parents will be the ones to bring their children for vaccination, unlike the earlier communication that this was supposed to happen at school. So we with the challenges notwithstanding, you never have enough manpower. Even here at UBC, I don't think you're operating at 100 capacity human resource. So, but we always endeavor to work and efficiently optimize the available human resource. But also there have been challenges with the, for instance, availability of resources. At what time do people who participate get paid? We have those challenges where there are delays in payment, which this whole week we've been working on how best can we facilitate our village health teams, for instance, to ensure that when we are to undertake another exercise that we are likely to do for the vaccinating children during the holidays, they are very well facilitated. Their facilitation comes on time without delays. So all those are the issues as a ministry working with the development partners we are looking at to ensure that when all the bottlenecks that have been pre-existent are addressed to achieve at least 70% coverage of the total population by end of September. Yes.
You've talked about vaccines being readily available, but you know one of the critical things to handle are vaccines.
Yes.
If you're going to have them in health center, have them everywhere, almost like you've said, how do I know that this vaccine is safe?
The vaccines are supposed to be kept or stored at certain temperatures. You remember when we could not roll out Pfizer to the outside Kampala metropolitan because its cold chain requirement was -80, -70 degrees. But I can assure you that working with Gavi and also other partners, the ministry has been able to establish a very strong cold chain system, and this cold chain moves across the country. So the issue of storage is not a challenge, and these vaccines have been stored at the required temperature. Of course, we have had also some wastages because there is a process they call thawing. When a vaccine leaves the national medical stores, sometimes some vaccines have a period after they've been thawed to be used. So if they are not utilized in that period of time, then those ones are wasted. So that process, and we have technical teams that ensure that they keep following the safety and storage of these vaccines, because lives of Ugandans matter most to us, and that's why we have to ensure that the vaccines that come in the country, working with the National Drug Authority, meet the required safety and effectiveness standards.
Well, we are still discussing COVID-19 vaccination, and just to remind you, in case you haven't gotten your jab, please go and get vaccinated. If you have, and you've gotten maybe one shot, go for the second. And if you're above 50 or with comorbidities, go and get your booster doses. But also if you spent 6 months from when you last had your second dose, please go and get that booster dose so that we can fight the reverse effects of COVID-19. We'll be going for a very short break. When we return, we'll still be looking at when am I safe after vaccination. We've had so many people talk about he was vaccinated but then tested positive of COVID-19. Was it the vaccine or what? Well, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Health is here with me, and he'll be responding to some of those questions. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to be held at the end of the year? That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves, high-flying saves, unbelievable goals. Out of this world celebrations.
Would you believe it? What a moment here!
All 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Go TV. Love it.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kaso's my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
National Council for Higher Education will hold the 4th Annual Higher Education Conference on the 14th and 15th September 2022. The conference theme is Enhancement of Teaching, Learning and Assessment with Ordeal in Higher Education. The guest of honor will be the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni. The conference will be held physically at Hotel Africana for only invited guests and open to online participants via Zoom webinar that will be shared under the events section at www.unche.or.ug. The keynote speakers are Ezra Nazim, Senior Fellow of Higher Education Academy UK, Professor Henk Gerald Sola, a Dutch organizational theorist and Emeritus Professor of Business, Engineering and ICT at Groningen University, the Netherlands. The National Council for Higher Education is receiving papers from researchers and scholars for publication in the Uganda Higher Education Review, Journal of National Council for Higher Education. For more details, send inquiries to cmuhumuza@unche.or.ug, info@unche.or.ug, or call 0783 040024 or 0704 800926 plus 256 39 32 62 140/4.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break, and thank you for keeping it with us here on Good Morning Uganda Extra. We are still looking at COVID-19 vaccination and telling you, well, the only way we can enjoy this economy is when we've boosted our immune system and we do not have death, we do not have hospitalization, and that is through vaccination. With a spokesperson of the Ministry of Health, Emmanuel Ainebiona, we are discussing this. Now, Emma, before we went for this break, we want to know how long does it take someone to be safe? And this question of, I was vaccinated but then tested positive of COVID-19.
Yes, and indeed, as we had earlier said, the vaccination itself will not stop you from getting COVID or testing positive. So that's why, as a ministry, we also said, after vaccination, you have to consistently follow the SOPs, ensuring that you have your face mask when you're in congested places, you are hand washing with water and soap or using a hand sanitizer. That message, we kept re-echoing that message, and it still remains. But as we said, getting vaccinated will save you from getting severe disease and dying.
So
and
from the day,
also,
let me just be more clear,
yes.
I think, to get, from the day I'm vaccinated,
yes.
when does my body begin having this immunity?
About 2 weeks after
Okay.
the vaccine starts working, but also we have seen that after a period, these vaccines, the ability of it to protect you wears out. And that's why now we are calling upon, for instance, the elderly who are still more at risk, the health workers, and also everyone. If 6 months after your previous shot elapsed, then we have been encouraging those ones who had completed their 2 doses to come for a booster dose, including J&J, which is a single vaccine.
That's Johnson & Johnson.
Yes. After 6 months, you can take a booster dose. And the Ministry of Health, as and when we study the COVID situation, we shall subsequently advise on what you can do. But we want to encourage those ones who have not had, because there are those ones who have not taken any shot of the vaccine, to ensure that at least they get also protected. Because the reason why we want protection, even including of the children, you remember when schools were closed around the second wave, when we had the Delta variant, most of the parents got the infection from their children who were returning from schools. And that's why, much as we can get all the 18 years old vaccinated and protected, if you leave a certain group of the population unprotected, there are high chances of being the carriers or the vectors of this virus. So that's why we still want to encourage parents out there, once the Ministry of Health communicates during this holiday period, the vaccination period for the children aged 12 and 17, let's take our children for vaccine. But the good news is that now so far, over 1 million children have been vaccinated. And this has been voluntarily by the responsible parents bringing their children to be vaccinated. Yes. So and that's why we want to encourage parents with the children falling in this age bracket, once we come out and communicate, which is going to be soon, after we've done our in-house preparations, let them bring their children for vaccination.
Well, bring your child for vaccination once it's rolled out and you get that information. Respond because of the benefit that comes with. Now, Emma, knowledge is power and information is really power, because by informed and they know what to do. However, wrong information is disastrous. That's why I want us to look at some of these common questions, some of the myths we are out there. Should a person first know their COVID-19 status before getting vaccinated?
That has not been necessary and it's not required. It's not a precondition unless you're recovering from the virus.
What happens in time that someone goes for vaccination, yet they are positive, they have COVID-19 and maybe they have just not known?
Yes, so there's not been any threat to that, but we always encourage people to, if you have had COVID, at least 3 months, 3 months after recovery, that's when you will take your vaccine. But there has not been any challenge with someone having a challenge with the vaccine because they had not known their their status in terms of testing. Yes.
As the ministry, what are some of the challenges that you're facing in this post-COVID rollout of this vaccination exercise?
Of course, with the reduction in the positivity,
yes,
that also the prevalence of COVID, that also influenced the perception. There is no longer a threat. That is what people now think. But with the way the Delta variant, for instance, took everyone by surprise, I remember around 2021, by January, we had minimal cases like we are having. We are having averagely 30, 20, 10. Towards May, June, everyone now was calling upon the Ministry of Health to do something. So we should, by the fact that there is still people testing positive, that could eventually become clusters, develop into clusters, and you find now we are again talking of hotspots. So it is the opportunity of everyone to take responsibility, take their vaccines, and let the Ministry of Health continue doing surveillance. We also do genomic sequencing. For those ones that are testing positive, we further analyze to know which strains of the COVID virus they have, such that we are not surprised by a new vicious variant. And I've been looking through the minutes of the incident management team, IMT. They meet. We have the incident management team meeting weekly, and now they were reviewing protocols for genomic surveillance, such that the Uganda Virus Research Institute is further analyzing these those testing positive to know we do not have new strains, and also we have a team that keeps looking at where these cases are coming from and going on the ground to fully understand we have no clusters. Yes.
Well, I just want to thank you, Emma, but before I let you go, let me have your final remarks. You know, I'm excited seeing you, and as we are talking about issues of vaccination, because I will not forget, now was, you know, those days, Ugandans, we shouldn't go back to this. It was all about so-and-so has been admitted, and really some are survivors here, some are survivors of COVID-19. So it is vaccination that will help you be a survivor. Let me have your parting shot, Emma.
Yes, thank you, Chirabo, and thank you, UBC TV, for this opportunity. As a COVID survivor, I want to encourage everyone out there to go get vaccinated. I have had my third dose, the booster dose, and when there was even the cases rising due to Omicron, everyone around me was almost coughing, and I was fine. So that gave me even extra courage that the booster dose I had taken helped me go through the Omicron period when there was the rise in the number of cases. So everyone out there, reach to the nearest vaccination point, whether public or private, have your vaccine. And also the certificates. Ensure that when you have your card, keep your card after your vaccine, because when these, for instance, there are challenges on accessing your vaccination certificate, you are able to provide proof of your vaccination card to enable us update this data in the system. I know there are people who have been experiencing challenges to access their vaccination certificates for travel, but our toll-free line is available, which is 0800 100 066. If you call that number, you'll get assisted. If you are having a challenge of where to access the vaccine, please call our toll-free line. Our call center agents will be able to help you and advise you on where you need to get your vaccine. If you need advice on mixing and matching, the toll-free line still will help you. And also, my office is always available for people who would want to make inquiries. And also, any call that comes through the call center that needs my attention, I will always attend to it, such that you get the right responses to any of your questions about the vaccination exercise. But the most important is that let's not go back to the lockdown. Let's not go back to a situation where schools were closed, a situation where churches were closed. The only solution to that is having as much as a big number of the population vaccinated above 18, and now we are looking at children between 12 and 17, and we shall be back with the Minister of Health to communicate about this exercise once the preparations are done, because the holiday for schools has started. Yes.
I want to thank you so much, Emma, but also please, when you go back, inform colleagues from the Ministry of Health that whoever is responsible in feeding in information regarding people's vaccination should up their game.
Yeah, we have had a backlog. We have had a backlog of data that has been not been entered, but we have adopted some technology called smart paper technology, which is helping us to cover up and ensure that all the data is entered. A majority of Ugandans now have their vaccination certificates.
Because
those ones experiencing challenges, as I said, the toll-free line is there. Once you have proof of your card and the points you went to, they are able to ensure that that data is entered. Because sometimes you find the delay in entry data of data is either at the district or at the point where you took your vaccine. So we follow up once you call the toll-free line, which is 0800 100 066.
Because at least I love the app. It was very easy for me to get my certificate. Just filling in my NIN, and I had my certificate.
Yes. A number of people
I took a long time checking when it's not there. I didn't bother your toll-free line just by just say, well, let me try, and I found my certificate was there.
Yes, so there are those ones who have experienced challenges where you find the data has not been entered, but also once you have proof of your vaccination card, what you need is your card and national ID. Call the toll-free line. A call center agent will link with the data person, and your challenges will be resolved. Because there are many people who need these certificates, because now it is a requirement for international travel. Most countries no longer test, but they want to be sure that you are vaccinated. And our certificate is reliable, because it has a QR code and can be scanned at any airport to confirm the specific vaccine doses you took.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Emmanuel Inebiona, who is the spokesperson of the Ministry of Health. Well, vaccination, like you said, is the only way. Do it for yourself, for your loved ones, because at the end of the day, it is you who will suffer the diverse effects of COVID-19. Together, we will suffer the effect if we have more death or we have a number of people infected. But the truth is, it's upon you, and being healthy is a responsibility. Go get this vaccination. It is free of charge in all government facilities. And the holidays are here. Let's encourage our children to get vaccinated, because it has to consent for them to get vaccinated. Let's give them all the information they need regarding the different ages they are at, so that they also get their immune system boosted. Have a lovely day. God bless you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.